Namaste and welcome to Detours with me Anuradha Goyal, where I talk to some very interesting personalities about journeys of all kinds. Namaste, whoever has joined from Silk Mark India. Aniruddha Rangaji, Namaste. Sharat ji. So, namaste everybody. We'll wait for a few minutes for a few more people to join. Today I am here for Insta Detours, a very, very special episode where we are going to speak to Shri Mohan Ranga Rao ji. He's a very good friend of ours and he has written this book called The Inner Trek, a reluctant pilgrim in the Himalayas. And this book is about his journey to Kailash Mansarovar along with his wife. And I have had the privilege of reading this book when it was in the manuscript form, and then again after it has been published. I have been told that this was recently released in Mysore, where Mohanji lives, by Shri S.L. Bhairappa ji, an author we all really admire and who's contributed so much to Kannada and Indian literature. So really look forward to. And if you have any questions about Kailash Mansarovar, this is your opportunity to ask Mohanji about what he feels. Let us invite him to join the conversation. Namaste, Mohanji.
Namaste, Anuradha ji. How are you?
I am very good and welcome to Insta Detours. We are live. We'll wait for a couple of minutes for people to know that we are. Okay, somebody called Muhammad Hisham is already asking why was he threatened to death. Okay, so people have already read about your book.
Okay. So,
Okay.
Muhammad, I was threatened to death because I had a very prime property in Bangalore and I had the approach to the main road and land mafia leader wanted the property at on his terms and at his price. And I went there and he was in connivance with my lawyer, my advocate, and they two had teamed up. And I have changed the names of the advocate and the land mafia leader. And then he called me, like I said, in Bangalore. And the opening sentence he said, "Do you know what happens to vacant sites in Bangalore if they are left like that in prime places?" And then I said, "What?" He said, "You will receive a phone call that there is a dead body lying in your property." So that is how it all started. This happened way back in 2014-15, and that is how I opened the book, because that triggered into a cascade of events that finally led to my trip to Mount Kailash.
Okay, so I think we have few people who have joined us, Mohanji. So we'll formally start talking about your book. I find your the title of the book very interesting. You say that this is inner trek. While you are trekking to the one of the most difficult treks in the world, but you talk about an inner trek. So I want you to start by talking about what is this inner trek.
See, what happens is we are normally attracted to places outside of ourselves. We are driven to natural landscapes, we are driven to natural beauty. We see so many mountains and hills and lakes and rivers, and we wonder and we form opinion about the beauty of everything. And we take a trek to test ourselves. We take a trek to see nature in its true form. And when doing so, rarely do we introspect what changes are happening within us. To me, nature is like a natural temple, a temple created by God. Like any temple is a place where gods and the devotees meet, and it's a place of worship where there is a connection between the God and humans.
Right.
Similarly, nature, God intended these places and created these such beautiful places to connect with His creation. And therefore, when you go to such places, especially when I go to places of natural wonder, something miraculous happens to me. It happened twice, as I've written in the book. First time it happened to me when I was only 26 and I didn't know where I was going, and I was taken to a place where I was completely unprepared of what was to come, and I was stood there and I took a look at the Grand Canyon. The magnitude of the creation, the canyon, the size of the canyon, measuring a mile across, a mile deep and infinite toward left and right, is something that it was unbelievably spectacular. And that is something that triggered a kind of an awakening in me, in the sense that, my God, there has to be something that can be responsible for a creation like that. So, when you go to temples, you know that God is there and you go there to worship and connect with Him. But when you go to a natural place, and especially a place of natural wonder, automatically you start connecting with gods, and especially places like Grand Canyon, places like Mount Everest, places especially Mount Kailash. So when you do that, there is a lot of things that happen within you. So even when you take a hike on a hill, if you were to observe mindfulness and take a trek within yourself, when I say, well, you could call inner trek as either inner contemplation, call it meditation, whatever terminology you use. I use the word inner trek because you have to literally walk within yourself and take
Right.
a journey within, so know what is happening when you see nature in its true form. That's what I mean by inner trek.
In fact, I always say that every journey we take outside is a journey we take inside as well, because
Absolutely.
you are meeting you seeing nature and the creation of the whatever you call it, God, which is beyond you, you know, which is far more than you, which is more than you, but also a part of you.
Yeah.
Somewhere
Yeah.
that connection happens. You know, that's what pilgrimage is all about. A pilgrimage is all about feeling, finding yourself in everything and finding everything within yourself. So, you know, the concept of yatha pinde tatha brahmande, you actually experience it yourself. Okay, Mohanji lost connection. It seems he'll come back. But I must tell you that I have read a few books on the journey of Kailash Mansarovar, and I have spoken to a few people who have done this journey, this pilgrimage. And Mohanji's book is a very, very honest book that talks about small things that people need to worry about or take care of when you go to a difficult trek like this or a difficult pilgrimage like this. But at the same time, it's a very, very honest journey of somebody who went more as a trekker but came back probably as a pilgrim, came back with a lot of realization that the place is famous for. So, you know, I was telling while you were away, I was telling that your book is a very, very honest account of somebody who went more as a trekker, more as somebody who loves trekking. But then you came back probably as a pilgrim, as some with some experiences. So, do you want to talk about the experiences that you had at in the Himalayas?
Yes, yes, yes.
The spiritual experiences that you had.
Yeah, see, when I went there, I was not too up to, I didn't have complete knowledge about what Mount Kailash stood for, except that it was viewed by over a billion people. I was more
Mhm.
interested in the physical aspects of it, the geographical aspects of it, and the geological aspects of it, the size of the
Yes.
rock and getting there, the altitude, and the fantastic landscape, the Tibetan plateau. So the Tibetan plateau, which is called the roof of the world, and the
Yes.
mystery surrounding Mount Kailash, the fact that it is supposed to be a alien-made pyramid, the fact that it
Ji.
is exactly one third of the distance from the North Pole and two thirds of the distance from the South Pole, and that it has kinds of steps that are naturally made that appear like it is made by an alien for what you call, you have watchtowers, so for alien ships to land. So there are so many mysteries surrounding Mount Kailash that you age there fast because of the kind of energy that exists there. So I was curious about those things, and when I took a dip in holy Lake Manasarovar, I sensed something change. Guys, it was something like when I used to go to temples as a young kid, they used to give me what is called the holy water, like tirtha. So I used to, it was so pristine, I used to drink it and feel so good. So after I took a bath and holy, I took my dips in Lake Manasarovar, I got the same kind of feeling as if I had taken a dip in holy Tirtha, the holy water. And then I walked out and I had a kind of cleansing kind of a feeling that as if I had been cleansed with an angelic soap, like the soap that was made by the gods. So I felt extremely refreshed to the deep down from the corner of my heart that there was something that was happening, and I felt very good about it. In fact, when I got back into the bus, Mamta asked me, how was it? And when I reflected it, then I realized that what a great feeling that I really went through. After that, we started the parikrama the next day, Mount Kailash, and I was not prepared. I did see the south face and the Om that is there on the mountains. It is beautifully formed. It is like a mystery how naturally Om can form on a mountain top. The white snow in stark contrast with the black granite rock, and it was very nice when I was. But what really completely overpowered me was during my first day of the trek. My Sherpa took me at about 4:30 in the evening to the top of a place, and then I stood there, and just like the feeling that I had when I saw Grand Canyon, I saw there in the middle of a plateau. Just imagine completely brown surroundings, boulders, brown, cold, breezy, and very distant horizon. You have snow-peaked mountains, and the middle there stands a rock, a granite rock, huge granite rock that resembles the hood of a serpent. It resembles a linga. It resembles like somebody doing, giving ashirvada with the hand. And that it was something so spectacularly, unbelievably overpowering that, it is said, how can such a structure come in the middle of nowhere? Such a great construction, as if it has been carved out there, as if a kind of a natural shrine has been created. It's like a rock suddenly, for the first time in my life, looked like a holy shrine. I had seen so many mountains, so many hills, everything, but for a natural granite rock to really appear like that, it really appeared like a shrine, a holy shrine. And I was completely overpowered. I felt so insignificantly small, and myself and the ego completely disappeared, absolutely disappeared. It is like something, you stand in front of a giant creature, and you feel so insipid, so helpless, and you automatically from the bottom of your soul, you surrender. You surrender to a field, you surrender to a force unseen, and you surrender to something so magnificent, so unimaginably great, so inordinate, that you automatically, without fear, without any preconceived notion, I just surrendered. I was not prepared for that kind of a feeling at all. From that moment on, the trek completely changed. Suddenly, everything started coming to me. Oh, this is the place where the Sapta Rishis walked. This is the playground of the Devas. The Sapta Rishis should have brought their copper kettles there and taken the water from Manasarovar. I'm walking on the same track as they did. And, and this is the place probably where these rishis conceived most of the Vedic chants. Or maybe, so many great things have happened. And the Adi Yogi, supposed to be the place of Lord Shiva, where he used to use it as his place of isolation. And then when I saw Gauri Kund the second day, see, the thing is with us, Hindus and Indians, our culture, our heritage, and our tradition runs in our bones. So automatically, when you go to a place like Mount Kailash and Kailash Mansarovar, the memories of what Lord Ganesh was born here near Gauri Kund, and Parvati was taking bath there. So these things completely are overwhelming. Similarly, I'm sure for the Buddhists, who Tibetan Buddhism, they believe in that. The Jains believe that the first Tirthankara was enlightened there. So they would feel the
It
same
is
way. So,
special for all religions which are born in India.
Yeah. All religions born in India. Over one and a
Okay,
half
so
billion
we have
people
a
in the world.
question. We have a question from the audience, Mohanji.
Yeah.
Rupa ji is asking, can we hear the Om voice from the blowing wind there?
See, there are so many things that happen, when I was, in fact, my wife also kept telling me that sometimes when we are walking, you felt like something nice was following you, something
Mm-hmm.
very, pristine and something extremely powerful. So it makes you look behind, but there will be nobody behind because it's only 3 or 4 thousand people trek there every year. And when I was going there, for instance, I'll give you an example I written in the book also. Except the noise of the wind, the breeze, and sometimes it becomes still. Suddenly, a bird fluttered. I heard the fluttering of a bird,
Mm-hmm.
and because your mind is unconditioned, because there is no other disturbance, because it is so pristine and so unadulterated, it creates a kind of an energy. It creates some kind of an imagination, and a kind of I would say a kind of a introspection in you automatically.
Mm-hmm.
The same bird, let us say a bird fluttering in a city or even when you are taking a hike on my native place in Chamundi Hill, would never create a sensation like that. That is the
Mm-hmm.
magnetic energy. That is the kind of energy that it kindles, the place kindles the kind of a spiritual energy in you. It makes you go inside, it makes you contemplate automatically because, of course, there are no other distractions. And then the legends that go with Mount Kailash, the stories that I have read, the epics that keeps playing in your mind. And so it becomes more and more and more special. Coming to her question of home, yeah, I heard all kinds of breezes, like a whistle, like the breeze sometimes were very powerful and the extreme. So sometimes the breeze would be so powerful that it would be difficult to walk. I did hear, but I didn't hear specifically any home noise, to be honest.
Okay. Okay. So, you have described a lot of your these experiences in the book, and I would expect the audience to actually pick up the book and read in detail about it. Um, one question I had was about one question somebody had on Twitter for you was about the dip in Kailash in the Mansarovar Lake. One, they wanted you to describe the experience, which you have already described partially.
Yeah.
And second, is it practically possible for everybody to take a dip? How difficult it is to take a dip?
Look, to be very honest with you, there's a lot of exaggeration about trekking around Mount Kailash, and especially with Kailash Mansarovar. You have to
Hmm.
be you have to be more mentally prepared rather than physically be prepared. You must have reasonable level of awareness about altitudes, and if
Hmm.
you are reasonably fit, if you can walk 2 to 3 kilometers or take about 30 or 40, climb 4 or 5 stairs without gasping for breath, you should be comfortably be able to go there. One thing that
Okay.
you have to be very careful is that if you don't acclimatize properly and when you take a dip, you should
Hmm.
not rush like you rush into a swimming pool or dive into a pool because there is a
Hmm.
condition called hypothermia. So the
Right.
body is, yeah, so it is, the body temperature is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. And when you go on the ambient temperature will be around 8 to 10 degrees centigrade and the water will be around 5 to 6 degrees centigrade. So what I did was that I first put my foot, I've written it in the book, my feet,
Yes.
and then I went step by step, then splashed some water on all the parts of my thighs and my stomach. And the minute you do that, sometimes it tends to, your ribs and all may catch. So you have to keep
Hmm.
breathing, deep breathing,
Hmm.
forceful deep breathing, and then walk inside, and then the parts that the Chinese allow you to take a dip, there are around 2 or 3 spots.
Hmm.
Manasarovar is a huge lake. It's a
Right.
circumference of over 140 miles. So they have allotted places where you're not supposed to use soap or litter the place. Only there
Hmm.
can you go and take a dip. And there the water is very shallow. So you are not
Okay.
allowed to go too far deep in. You go there and it will come up to about 6 or 8 inches above the knee. And then after acclimatizing yourself, you take a dip. And then first time when I took a dip, I felt like a hammer hitting my backside of the head. So
Right.
I took, yeah, it was a severe pain as soon as I lifted my head. After I completely immersed myself. Then I stood there, took some more breath, and then I took 2 more dips. and then walked back to the bank. And it was slightly slushy, the bank, the shore was slightly slushy, but the lake is unbelievably super clean. It's like RO water, like emerald. It depends on the light that is falling on the lake. Sometimes it is turquoise blue, sometimes it is emerald green. It is incredible experience. So
So, Mohanji, I'll just answer Rupa ji. She's asking for the book name and if it is available on Amazon. The book name is Inner Trek, A Reluctant Pilgrim in the Himalayas. The author name is Mohan Ranga Rao, and it is available on Amazon.
yes, the ebook is available. The hard copy, because of so many photographs, they are having some difficulty in uploading the hard copy. The hard copy is available in the US because they have a link up with Ingrams Park in US, Canada, and everywhere. But in India, if you want the hard copy, then you have to visit my website, innertrek.me. Innertrek.me. Visit my website, and I'll send you the hard copy.
When we post this video on the Instagram handle, we will give you links to buy the book.
Yeah.
We will add the links to buy the book. Okay. So, so I have read about this thing, but people have these obvious questions about it. You know, how physically fit do people need to be to take this journey?
See, up to Kailash Mansarovar, you can go comfortably. I do not think any reasonably fit person, by reasonably fit, like I said, if you can walk for 2 kilometers without stopping anywhere, or if you can climb about 30 to 40 steps without gasping for breath, you should be
That's
able
it.
to comfortably be able to make it to Kailash Mansarovar. They do allow mugs, so you can keep a mug or a plastic, steel vessel with you and splash yourself instead of dipping suddenly. And
Okay.
once you acclimatize, then you can take a dip. Now, as far as
Okay.
the trek around Mount Kailash, which is about 48 kilometers, is concerned, the first day is relatively easy. The first day is a 16-kilometer trek from 15,500 feet altitude. You go up to about 1,200 feet you gain in altitude over a distance of 16 kilometers. So you can comfortably do it. I mean, reasonably fit person would be able to do it. Ponies are available. So the best thing to do is you can keep a pony with you, a horse, and then you walk as much as you can. And if you feel tired, you can always climb on the horse, and the rider will be there. So most of the people who are above 50 or 55, like Sadhguru group that he takes, they only see the north face and come back.
Okay.
So Sadhguru's trip doesn't take you all the way around the Mount Kailash. They show you the north face, which is supposed to be the most important, from the Yamadwar to Dirapuk, which is the first day's trek. The second day trek is from Dirapuk to Zutulpuk. So there, it is a 22-kilometer trek, and the altitude gain is almost about 2,500 feet, and the highest point is 8,800 feet on Dalmala Pass. That is where most of the lives are lost. So there one has to be careful. And in fact, the group member who accompanied us, that I have written in the book, actually his name was, Padmakar Reddy. I have written it as Prabhakar Reddy in the book. He lost his life on the way to Dalmala Pass. So you have to be a little careful on Dalmala Pass and make sure that you are properly acclimatized. And the third day trek is relatively easy. It's only 8 kilometer trek it takes about 2 hours in the morning, and within 2.5 days, the whole entire trek will be over. Coming back, I think a reasonably fit person should be able to do at least the north face, the first day of parikrama, which is most important, the Manasarovar Lake, and the first day of the parikrama, you can comfortably do and get back to Darchen.
Okay. And you spoke about this, the highest point, which is where you are supposed to offer something.
Yes.
You're supposed to offer something. So tell us about the rituals and the all the things that are all the manyatas that are there about this point. And
Yeah,
if I'm
see,
not wrong, this is supposed to be the point of Devi there.
yes,
The goddess.
absolutely. See, there is an equivalent of Parvati in the Tibetan Buddhism, and the
Ji.
mountain Dalmala Pass, they say different words. Somebody say Dolma, somebody uses the word Dorlma. So that is supposed to be the equivalent of Parvati in the Tibetan Buddhism. And because Gauri Kund, where Ganesha was born and Parvati was taking bath, comes right after the summit of Dalmala Pass. It is kind
Right.
of a Parvati peak. Now, coming back to your question, you start with Yamadwar on day one. They say Yamadwar, you have to take 3 rounds and go underneath it because you are taking a risk with your life. So they named it Yamadwar. They call it
Right.
something else in Tibetan Buddhism. I only stick to what I know about Hindu
Right.
terminologies. That is called
Right.
the Yamadwar. Then you go to the first place called Dirapuk. There is a Tibetan monastery there. And then you go to the Parvati, which is the Dalmala Pass. For there, once you pass the summit, as a token of gratitude, you should leave something behind. So the Tibetans leave prayer flags. Some Tibetans leave some items. Some people leave money. Many people leave many things so that as a token of gratitude for having made that. And so they always say make an offering. And your oblation, because you are at such a high altitude, you cannot take havan items or homa items and do any worship or puja there. So whatever you can leave behind as a token of your appreciation, you leave behind in Dolmala Pass. There will be millions, myriad of prayer flags and so many stones that will be piled up by the Tibetans who believe that if they leave that, the souls and everything, the past karma will be cleansed. And then they pass the Dalmala Pass, and then there is a steep descent right there. Before, as soon as you pass the Dalmala Pass, you come across Gauri Kund. Now, the problem in Gauri Kund again is not many people go down there because it's extremely slippery and risky. But if you go there, you can collect the water. Many people consider the water of Gauri Kund as considered to be holier than Lake Manasarovar. So you come back and then you take the descent. And Dalmala Pass is a place which is supposed to be the holiest place for the Tibetan Buddhists. And they
Right.
have, yes. And then the
Even
third day,
even for Hindus, Gaurikund is very sacred.
yeah, sacred, because that is where Gauri was taking the bath as Ganesha was waiting and watching over her, and then Shiva came, and then
Right.
when he was not allowed to go in, he lost his temper, and
So it
you know the
the place
story.
becomes their home. It place, is Shiva, Gaurikund is Parvati, Ganesh is there. So the whole place becomes, like you said, a playground of the devas.
Absolutely. Anuradha, let me give you an example. Let us say that you enter Mahatma Gandhi's house today. Okay? And then you see his slippers or you walk into his house and go and sit on a chair where he was sitting. You know the kind of feeling that you get?
Right.
So something
Right.
similar to that. Or if you're in the presence of an extremely sacred holy man, a very, very holy man whom you have great reverence for. When you're standing next to him, you feel an energetic, holy feeling and a great sense of peace and calm and tranquility.
Right.
When you start the trek, within hours, you start feeling that. The same kind of sensitivity it overpowers you. The energy is something. That is why many people say you can never compare Andes or the Alps with the Himalayas.
Right.
Himalayas have an energy, Himalayas have a landscape, Himalayas have a beauty that no other mountain range in the world can offer. And no
That is
wonder
what
that, yeah, the no
right.
wonder that the most sophisticated, what I consider myself, not because I'm a Hindu, because I'm proud of the kind of sophistication that our ancient seers had accomplished way back 4,000 years ago in the Vedas, especially the concept of Vedanta, Advaita.
Right. Right.
Okay.
So yeah, so I also feel that lot of our rishis, lot of our sadhu samaj has meditated in the Himalayas. So that energy has also accumulated in Himalayas. So Himalayas has helped them do the tapasya, and their tapasya has charged the mountain. That's my belief.
I
That
think so.
when
I think you are right.
pilgrims go,
Like when you
yeah,
go to a temple, you have the bell. Now there
yes,
are many myths. A bell is supposed to ward off bad bacteria. It is supposed to have a kind of a resonance that will kill so many pathogens and all that. Set that aside. But as soon as you go and ring the bell at a temple and then put your right foot in and then enter, why even a church for that matter, some kind of a calmness and something envelops you, and then you feel
right,
kind of an energy. It is not because of fear. It completely the surrender and the kind of devotion comes naturally because, like you said, there is so much of energy in the air. The energy of devotion, the prayers, the offerings, the oblations, the worship, the surrender. So that rubs on to you at a level that we cannot fathom. At a level
Absolutely.
that we cannot fathom. So I agree with you because of this. So there's supposed to be actually, when you make the inner Kora, there is supposed to be
Right.
caves where the Sapta Rishis were supposed to have done the tapasya. But for
Yeah,
that, you have to do.
in fact, when you read about lot of siddhas, they say they actually the lot of siddhas who meditate in caves which are beyond Kailash. So,
Yeah.
to the north of Kailash, if you go, and it's not easy to reach there, it's not easy to live there, but they say there are siddhas who are living there and worshipping, and nobody knows how old they are, and they're just living there.
Yeah, see,
And
imagine for a place which has an oxygen level of less than 40% of what it is, let's say in Mumbai or Goa. So for you to survive there and with very little thing to eat and all, you need to have so much of sadhana in terms of your energy requirement of the body and controlling your breath and
right,
harnessing the energy, utilizing the whatever energy, natural energy like sunlight and the air,
right.
whatever, harnessing it and for your own, that is something that is it's not possible unless you do those kinds of physical achievements that they did. Automatically, it came to them like pranayama or the yogic
Right.
things, the breathing that they practice, without which it would have been very difficult. And that was, I
Yeah,
think,
so their bodies do not function like our bodies do. They
absolutely, absolutely,
function at a different level, or they have achieved those siddhis. That's why they're called siddhas.
absolutely.
So, yeah, I also want you to talk about, you on the evening of your second day, you did trek to the southern face. You did trek towards the southern face of the Kailash, right?
Okay. Yeah.
In the evening, you write about it
No,
in your
that is the
book.
northern phase. That is
Sorry,
the,
northern face.
yeah, see,
Yes.
that is the first,
Yes.
see, that is the most
Not which
important.
not many people do.
Yes, that is
So
called Charan
because
Spasha.
that's the closest you went to the mountain.
Absolutely. See, this is like this. Uh, I was a little tired, but I didn't want to give. I wanted to touch Mount Kailash because it's called Charan Sparsh.
Ji.
So it looks like when I started the Charan Sparsh trek,
Mhm.
I started and I didn't know. I thought it is very close by. It looks so
Mhm.
huge because Mount Kailash is a huge, huge peak, granite peak, pure
Right.
granite peak. I went about 3 kilometers and 4 kilometers, not coming. It still looks so near if you see the photograph.
Right.
And then
Right.
the other thing is, Mount Kailash does not have a starting point. Like,
Hmm.
okay, so it is, you have to, the rock starts something like, very gradually it goes up and then the peak is there. Okay, so there are,
Right.
you have to go there to touch it. So I went and when I went to ask, the closer I went, the more magnetic it was. The closer I went, the more energetic it was. It was incredible. I mean, how can I explain something so inordinately, experiential? Because you have to experience it. Adjectives won't describe it aptly. Like I said, the
Right.
closest thing that I can tell you is something, no, like you're like a very, 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 very holy person. You are very close to a holy person and a shrine, and as if it is as if it is trying to make you fall down and surrender. Like you automatically feel like prostrating. It's the magnitude of the rock, the magnitude of this sheer
Mhm.
dominating, towering presence is
But do you
incredibly
also
illuminating.
feel a sense of being one with it?
No, you disappear. You disappear in the sense that you as a person, Mohan as a person. I
Mhm.
was not there, so you can call
Mhm.
it connecting one or whatever. So you are so it is
You
so
merge with
overpowering.
the
Yes, it is
you
so
merge with
overpowering.
it.
You almost become that because you cannot think of anything else. It is like
So it's like Tattvamasi or
yeah,
Aham Brahmasmi.
like Shankaracharya. You are that. You are that because
You
it
are
is
that.
absolutely because you are only looking at it, but it is a
Mhm.
reflection of what the consciousness is actually absorbing.
So that's like what I hear you saying is that it's basically what the Vedanta tells us is what you experience
Absolutely,
firsthand
I'll
when
tell
you are
you.
in a
This is
place
very
like
simple. Yes.
this.
See, in a meditative, when you are doing meditation, the purpose of
Ji.
meditation is to make sure that the prism
Mhm.
called mind is taken away.
Ji.
Because we always see the world through the mind.
Mhm.
And the mind is like a prism which
Mhm.
interprets, which labels, which use words to describe
Ji.
what you are watching. You hear something, oh, bird is chirping. Then you see something else, you label it. But when you take out the prism of the mind, okay, you have a direct experience. It's called a direct experience. So when you are
Absolutely.
meditating, for instance, things fall on your ear. You hear, you don't listen, but things fall on your ear, and you don't form any judgment or any label. That is the
Right, right.
ultimate meditative state. Something exactly similar happens there. When you stand in
Yes,
something so monumental like Mount Kailash
right.
or even Grand Canyon, you disappear because your ego disappears.
Mhm.
The self disappears.
Mhm.
You become nothing, absolutely nothing. So you can call that state becoming one with what you are watching. So it is like,
Right.
in a way, like a meditative state, like what the Vedanta says of the
So,
non-duality.
yes, but in a meditative state, it takes a lot of effort on your part to reach that state.
Yes,
But when you
yes,
are
yes.
there, it happens naturally,
Absolutely.
effortlessly.
Yeah, in fact, you might have seen that even when you're sometimes when you're taking a walk in a park or when you're watching a lake, there are times when the mind stops working,
Yes,
you don't have any
yes,
thoughts, and you're just
yes.
there. You are not worried about somebody waiting at home or what to cook or what to eat, or are not worried
Right.
about what happened yesterday or how you came or which car you came or how are you going to get back. Nothing. You're just there.
That stillness comes.
Absolutely. So any place of wonder, any place of
Mhm.
natural mystery, kind of inordinate creation, brings about that kind of a meditative state.
Okay.
And this is
Yes.
something,
So,
yeah. But these kinds of not these are wonders of the world. I don't know why Mount Kailash is not considered as the seven wonders of the world when Grand Canyon is. I really do not know why. I personally feel that, of course, I've not seen all the seven wonders of the world, but
well,
I'm
those
sure.
are, see, these definitions always come from the places where they are defined for. When I look at the UNESCO World Heritage sites in Europe, and I
Yeah.
say we have so many in every part of India which are not even recognized. So it's a process, and there is a process of application. Maybe nobody's put an application to make Kailash a wonder of the world. So
Yeah.
those are, and I honestly I feel are these kind of places are way beyond these labels. You can't
No,
really put.
no, I agree, Anuradha. You remember the
Hmm.
highest lakes,
Hmm.
freshwater lakes in the world are
Hmm.
Manasarovar and Rakshasthal.
Yes.
Four of the greatest rivers of India
Right.
take their
Right.
root in around Mount Kailash.
Yes.
You
Yes.
see, you see
Including
the
Saryu.
kind of
Yeah.
coincidences. Yeah, incredible.
Like they're not coincidences. They're not coincidences. Our ancestors very well knew about it. So when
No, when
you
I
have
say
my book
coincidences,
Ayodhya.
I
Mhm.
mean it in a kind of a divine conspiracy. Like, as
Uh,
if that place is so special, and there is no
yes,
wonder that these four rivers were born there.
yes. If the four rivers were born there, and if you really look at it, so I have written Ayodhya Mahatmya. You have that book. You
Yeah,
see, the Saryu comes from Kailash Mansarovar. It
yeah,
comes from
incredible.
Mansarovar, and that's why it's important for us because that Mansarovar is flowing to the place where my first capital of the world was, or where the biggest of the kings, the biggest of Dharmatma kings ruled from. So they all have a relevance. They all have a relevance.
Okay.
What we are still grappling with is in bits and pieces. When we see it as a whole, it's like the whole jigsaw puzzle falling in place.
Absolutely, I agree. I think so. Yeah. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. Then I mean, it will all add up. When you see that, no
One day it
wonder. Yeah, no
will.
wonder that we have so much of reverence for places like this.
Yes, and these it's very difficult to explain it to people who've not been there or who've not been on pilgrimages to tell them that these are experiences which the best of rishis could not put into words. When you read about the Himalaya Mahatmya or the Mahatmyas of Shiv and Devi, most of the times the writer, whoever it is, even Vedavyas, they say that I'm incapable of describing this. I'm trying my best, but even Sharada or Saraswati is or Narad, who are the best, most eloquent people or the devatas of the Vani, they are incapable of describing what happens.
Yeah. Language has
So,
its limitations. Yeah.
Yes, so if they cannot describe, it's a mammoth task for any of us to even attempt
Absolutely. See, it
describing
is
that.
something that is experiential.
Absolutely.
If I were to ask you, can you please explain how do you explain sweetness in Champakali or sweetness in a peda?
Right, right,
It is something you have to taste it and you experience it. No amount
right.
of sweet means you get this tangy feeling, you get this feeling on your tongue. Nothing will satisfy you. Will never. Nothing will
Those
make
are
you
just
understand.
words, yes. Those
Yeah.
are just words, yes.
Yeah.
So these have to be experienced. So we already done 40 minutes. So I'm going to ask you one question. So how is Mohan Ranga Rao before the trek and after the trek? What is the difference between two people? Is there a difference?
See, this question can be answered on different levels. Okay.
Hmm.
Number one, I realized the kind of reverence that is placed on Mount Kailash, which I had not
Hmm.
understood. I understood when I went there and saw for myself
Hmm.
what is the greatness of the place. Number one.
Hmm.
Number
Hmm.
two, after taking the trek, after going to Manasarovar, Kailash Mansarovar, and doing the trek, it made me take a deeper look into my roots. It made me
Hmm.
take a deeper look into myself. It
Hmm.
made me think about all the experience that I had. So in a
Hmm.
way, without any doubt, my
Hmm.
trip to Kailash Manasarovar made me a much, much deeper person. I would not like to
Hmm.
use the word spiritual because the terminology has been used and abused and misused. So I have a spirituality to me is something that is nothing but self-examination and going
Hmm.
beyond the body mind, which we all do to some level.
Hmm.
Everybody is spiritual to some extent. The degree varies.
Right.
Some people
Right.
spend more time. Some people are more disciplined. They spend more time in solitude, inner examination. Okay, you call it sadhana or whatever, then you realize that you need more and more and more and do that. So I would not say I turned more spiritual. I definitely became deeper. My reverence for the ancient our scriptures and our Vedas and everything went up sky high. I mean, in the sense that this is the place where all these things were, all the revelations were absorbed and were converted into hymns. Places like this, if not exactly the Mount Kailash trek, the foothills of the Himalayas per se, is
Mhm,
something where most of these chants, the Vedic chants, as they call the Shruti,
mhm.
they were reverberations that the rishis heard, and they were only able to put it in chants. So even to this day, there is no way that you can say a prayer. You can only chant. You can only chant. The way to express your connection with God is to chant the Vedic chants. So even to this day, when you see our rituals, when you see the offering that we made, we do nothing but chant, because
Right.
whatever they're explaining through the vibrations that they heard, through the
Right.
energetic fields that they
So
experience in
every
places like this.
every chant you are creating you're changing the energy around you.
Yeah,
So through the chants, you are basically modifying the energy which is present around you.
absolutely. Yeah.
So it is, I have a feeling that someday if we can master this, you can create what you want to create using just your Vani.
Yes, yeah, but unfortunately, it requires such an element of great sacrifice that you have to start at an age of 8 and do nothing but that sadhana. And
Um,
in the sense
I
that
don't
for you to
I
reach,
don't follow
yeah,
these. Yeah.
that they have
It
mastered it.
depends, Yeah,
Mm,
it depends when you start and where you start. More than anything else, you need to have that intent to do that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
once you have that intent, everything else falls in place. There are people who started it late in their ages, people who started who were child prodigies. It also has to do with what karma you were born with, what sadhana you did it in your earlier births, and what you brought to this life. So those are a lot of variables, but this is all in the realm of possibility.
yes.
So
But
when
I
you are
agree with
doing
you.
your
It's
chanting,
about time that we put more efforts in actualizing these great strengths of ours.
that the only way I can see is to do it.
Mm, yeah.
So you can only do it, and probably 10 more people will look at you and follow you. You
Like I
cannot
said,
preach it.
always remember to take an inner trek, at least 10
Yes,
minutes a
yes,
day. Take an inner trek.
right. Yes, yes. And that is, go for a walk, spend time with nature, or you do whatever touches your heart, whatever puts you in
Spend
touch
some
with
time in
yourself.
solitude.
Right,
Yes.
right. In fact, we are spending too much time alone, but not really in solitude.
Absolutely. That there's a
We are
difference
spending
between,
too.
yes, the loneliness and solitude. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so finally we'll wrap it up by saying what are your top 2, 3, 4 practical tips for people who want to go for Kailash Mansarovar
Yes,
Yatra?
I would say, see, like I've written a blog about it. There are three preparations that you have to make, but the most important one is the mental one. Okay,
Okay.
apart from the physically, you start walking at least 30
Hmm.
minutes, even if it is 4 to 5 kilometers in 1 hour, it doesn't matter. 1 month before
Hmm.
you start the trek.
Okay.
Okay, and start
Hmm.
practice pranayama,
Hmm.
deep breathing. Okay, as much as the deep breathing that you can. That is also helps a lot in that fitness. And
Hmm.
third thing is mentally you have to tell yourself that you can do it and not
Right.
fall prey to the all the gory stories that people tell you that we have 3 or 4 out of 100 die when they take the trek and all that. Don't fall for such things. You have to be practical, acclimatize gradually. Never
Hmm.
go for altitude more than 1,000 feet or 2,000 feet in a day. If you go more than, like for instance, when you go from Simiko to Hilsa and Hilsa to Darche, you have an altitude gain of about 10,000 feet. So you have to acclimatize yourself for 1 day or 2 days. Just take rest and make sure that the body gets adjusted. And then after that, every 1,000 or 2,000 feet altitude, you should not gain for more than a day. Take a day's break, acclimatize your body. And of course, there are medicines like Diamox, which is acetaminophen, which is a antihypertensive drug, which is also taken for high pressure, which prevents edema. So you have to take it preventively. Next thing is, when you go there, you should not go. You try to be active, try to eat and try to drink water whenever you are in the high altitude. And these are very important tips. But 1 month before, physically prepare yourself through walking, practice deep breathing, pranayama as much as you can, mentally prepare yourselves properly, have the right gear, the correct shoes, the right kind of shoes, the right kind of clothing. You need to have thermals because night time the temp. And the other thing is the sudden changes in temperature. I mean, it will be drizzling. And I've written in the book once what happened. I started sweating, and to remove my jerkin because the physical effort that I had put in the first day. That karma came running. My Sherpa came running and said he couldn't speak my language, so he said sign language and I asked me to put it on. Then I said, no, I don't want to put it on. You are crazy. I'm breathing. My armpits and all were profusely sweating. Then I didn't listen to him. Within 5 minutes, a gale came, strong gale. Believe it or not, I stood there and I shivered, literally shivered. From the toe to the top of my head, I shivered crazily. Bone chill, cold gale. Immediately put on the jerkin, and he said, this is why people suffer, kind of a thing. I realized immediately. So you should not ignore, and the Sherpas are great people who will always be very supportive. And anyway, usually they grow in groups. Though you go in groups while trekking, you fall apart. So you cannot trek together. There is no trek that you can do because a group will usually 40 to 50 people go in one group, and two such groups go every day. So about 100 people spread over 16 kilometers, you can imagine. So you won't get to meet anybody. So you should hydrate yourself properly, eat properly, carry the correct kind of gear.
And
The
listen to
trekking sticks,
Sherpa.
yeah. Listen to the Sherpa trekking sticks. You keep mentally be strong and don't ever give up on yourself.
Great. Great, Mohanji. Guys, all of you pick up the book Inner Trek, and we'll put the links on this video. And if you have any question, leave it in the comments, and we'll request Mohanji to come back sometime and look at the comments and answer if possible. Thank you so much, Mohanji, for taking us on this trek with you, and we wish you all the best for the book.
Thank you, Narada, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Namaste.
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 Thank you for joining us on Detours. You can also join us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Our handle is InDetails, INDITALES. See you soon.